Hey everyone, welcome back to Cognitive Solver in yet another video. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about HTMX. If you are dealing with web development or specifically UI development, you should know about HTMX. It's a really cool stuff. So let me just ask you something. Are you not tired of writing endless JavaScript just to make your web app interactive? I mean, come on, React, Vue, Angular. It feels like we need a PhD to just make a button click. Don't you think so? Well, today I'm going to introduce you to HTMX, a game changer in web development that lets you build powerful interactive websites without writing a single line of JavaScript. Yes, you heard me. Without writing a single line of JavaScript. Sounds cool, right? So stick around till the end because I have got a fun quiz to test your knowledge about HTML. But whatever we'll go through in this video, at the end we'll have a quiz, little quiz, just to check that how much you grasped. Okay, so yeah, let's dive in. Before we talk about HTML, let's talk about the current state of front-end development. Most modern web apps like JavaScript heavy frameworks like React, Vue, or Angular, and while they are powerful, they come with some problems like too much boilerplate code is required in those frameworks or libraries. If you see, okay. Second is performance issue with client-side rendering. So we are taking data from backend and doing processing at the client side itself, and manipulating the DOM. So this all takes time. So which incurs the performance issue in our applications, right? The third one is steep learning curve. I mean, come on, if you want to learn React, Vue, Angular, you should be like have at least 1 year in your hand to learn all these frameworks. So it has very steep learning curve. If not 1 year, if I'm okay, if you think I'm exaggerating, not 1 year, maybe 6 months. That is the least you want to just start with these things. If you want to get master, you need 1 to 2 years at least. So yeah, they have steep learning curve, right? And the last but not the least, overcomplicating simple tasks. Now, what I mean by that is, say I want to load some comments on a blog page, right? Or maybe take Facebook for an example. I want to load more comments in the below the post. So I just want to click a button, get the response from backend, and show it in the UI. But for doing that, if you go into Angular, Vue, or React, you need to write at least 20 to 25 lines of codes. But in HTMX, you can do it with a single line of code. Yes, you heard me. Single line of code only required to do this. So that is why I was saying that the current modern front-end frameworks are there. They just overcomplicate simple tasks, and that's where HTMX comes in. So what is HTMX? HTMX is a lightweight JavaScript library that lets you make AJAX requests, WebSockets, and server sent events directly from HTML. Yes, you heard me. Directly from HTML. You are not writing any extra JavaScript for it, right? You are doing it directly from HTML. That means no more bloated JS files or complex state management. So let's see some core features of HTMX. First, we have AJAX requests in HTML. I talk about it. You can make AJAX requests from HTML itself using attributes. Like we have multiple attributes in HTML, right? So you can use those attributes and you can make AJAX requests without writing a single JavaScript line for it. Partial page updates. So now we are talking about SPS, that single page application, right? I don't want to load whole page just to update a particular segment on the page. Like if you say in a blog website, I just want to load a new comment, just arrived, right? Or someone from around the globe put a new comment on the page. So for showing that new comment, I am not going to reload the whole page. That is a bad user experience, right? So we're going to update a particular segment of the page without loading the whole page. That is where partial page updates comes. Server side rendering. We're going to do server side rendering because client side rendering takes time and increases the overhead. So we'll do server side rendering. That is where the world is moving towards. We'll do server side rendering because at server side it is faster. We just get the response and just stitch it in our DOM. HTML provides us history support as well, so we don't need to keep track of the endpoints user is visiting. HTMX does it inbuilt, so it has history support as well. That's a good point to use HTMX. And last but not the least, WebSocket support. HTMX provides us with WebSocket support. That's cherry on the cake, I would say. So all these features combine and many more, think of HTMX as a HTML with superpowers. Yeah. Okay, so with that, let's go into some live demo, because enough of theory. We'll see how this thing actually works, how it looks like in code. Okay. So very first question, like how I can use HTML in my project. So you can use in several ways. If you want to use a script tag, you can use it like this. You can import it with the latest one, or you can directly have it download the HTMX min.js and put it somewhere, and you can just paste the source of it in your script tag, or you can install using npm. Okay, and then can import it and use it like this. Correct. So this is how you can use HTML in your project. So you can see, right, after doing that, you get a lot of new attributes called hx post, get, put, patch, delete. So these are some ajax calls you can do with HTMX. And how to do that? Very simple. See, you just have to mention the attribute and the endpoint, like this slash messages. So this is basically saying that call this messages endpoint as a post request and get the data, and it will put it inside this div tag. If you want to put it somewhere else, right? So suppose you want to click have a feature where you want to click a button. So let's see, this is a submit button, and this is the ajax post call is happening. Basically form submission is happening here, and you can say when to happen. So you say ajax trigger, when to trigger this event. So on mouse enter, or you can say mouse leave, mouse over. So whatever a JavaScript event you can pass there, and it will trigger this action based on that event, right? So you'll get a whole lot of what I say, control over it, right? You see, it says mouse enter once. I'll paste the link of this blog. It is very well documented blog. You can go through it. But we are here to see just little examples, like how we can use HTMX basically. Simple examples, right? So you see there is a button called click me. It will click, and then we can use this HTMX indicator to show a loader, right? More on this later. So this is a very good documentation for HTMX, I would say. You guys can go through. I'll just paste the link in my description of this video. Okay, so yeah, we'll go to our application which we'll use for the demonstration. So this is the simple student management system which I created totally with HTMX. Okay, you see there's a student tab, there is school tab, and then we can add new school or new student based on which tab we are currently in, right? So this is all happening with HTMX. I'll show you the code now. So you see, I clicked on students, or I'm clicking on schools. I'm getting the list of schools. I'm getting list of students. How I'm getting it? See, this is the navbar I have here. I have this list item students, right? When I'm clicking on students, I'm getting the student list, and when I'm clicking on the schools, I'm getting the schools list, and the DOM is getting updated. But you see, the page is not loading. You can see this icon here. It will not load. The page will not load, but ajax call is happening and data is getting retrieved from the backend. It is not a static data. First of all, let me tell you that. Okay, I'll just prove you. I'll just add new student. Okay, maybe I'll say new student. See, I have added a new student here, right? Now I have 4 students. I'll go to schools. There are 4 schools, and I have 4 students also. I can admit this student in a school, just say Springfield Academy. Confirm, and this student is admitted now. So this is all happening, right? And in backend, if I show you the backend code, it's basically Java. So you see, from backend we are returning the HTML. So when I'm calling the get all students, so basically what is going here, it's going to my service class, fetching all the students from DB. See, student repository dot find all. It's finding all from DB and getting with a student list. Now when I'm getting the student list, I'm converting this student list to my desired output, desired HTML, I would say. So, and after doing that, so that's what basically server side rendering is, right? We do all these stuffs, creating HTML and say appending CSS classes and attributes or IDs, everything. We do it in backend, and we just send that HTML string to the UI or to the API caller, and at UI side, front end side, will take the response and we'll just stitch it to our DOM. So that is what server side rendering is. We are not doing any processing at our front end side or our client side. That's where it's saving us time and processing time and user experience also, right? And how this is happening, you see, simple attribute called hxget. Okay, so I'm telling that where to call. I have to give the URL, right? So I'm telling, okay, this is the URL, this is the endpoint, please call this endpoint, and whatever data you are getting, put it in the target element. What is this hx target signifies that there is a element which is a target element. We have to put the data which is coming from this endpoint, put it there, and I'm selecting that target with an ID selector, hash content. You can use class selector as well with dot, right? So where is this content? You see here, dynamic content area. So we have this div called ID content. Okay, so here it is getting stitched inside this div. Inside this div, our application data or whatever our API is responding with is getting stitched inside it, right? Here also I have this hxget, but you see here I have this hx trigger. It says load. So whenever browser loads for the first time, the application loads for the first time, then this itself will call the students API and get all the student list and put it inside this. Okay, so one thing you can notice that in the previous calls here, see, I had this attribute hx target, right? But in this I don't have that attribute, but I have hx trigger. Now hx trigger I can have here also. So hx trigger is not required here. You can give it, no issues, but I want a default behavior. If you are providing hx trigger attribute and saying it's something that okay on load, so whenever DOM loads for the first time, it will call this API and get the data out of it and put it inside this div, because I haven't specified any hx target. So if I'm not specifying that attribute which I have specified here, so it will see okay, I have to put the value in the current elements HTML itself, in the HTML itself. Okay, but if I'm specifically saying okay, I have to put somewhere else that it has content, so it will not put inside this a tag or li tag, but this content div. Fine. So the point is simple. See, I'm calling an API here, getting data and showing it to the user and updating it, everything I'm doing it, but in a single line using a single attribute, right? Imagine if you're doing this in Vue or React or Angular, you would have write 25-26 lines, right? So this is where HTMX saves us, right? So this was some mere example like how powerful HTMX is, right? So this is an application fully leveraging HTMX, right? We can delete or add. You can delete the student. Student got deleted immediately. So that is how fast it is, because no processing time is taken in the UI side. So that's where HTMX saves us a lot of time and gives us a lot of performance enhancement. Now you might be wondering, why should I use HTMX instead of React or Vue? Well, so I'll just make one thing very clear. HTMX is not here to replace React, Vue or Angular. It is not here to replace. If your project is a single page application, full-fledged single page application, you should go with React or Vue or Angular. HTMX is not going to help you there, because there are a lot of things, state management and all that things that HTMX cannot handle. But if your application is a server-side render application, a little bit less complex, just like blog pages or newspaper websites, or simple websites are there, like a lot of simple websites are there where you don't want that overhead of that heavy libraries of JavaScript, right? So there you can use HTMX and you can leverage its full capability. So if that is clear, then let's go to some quick comparisons, right? HTMX versus others, right? First comparison we'll have with React or Vue. So HTMX is not replacing React or Vue, it is just an extra tool you are getting in place of React or Vue. If your project demands that okay, I don't need that much of complex code for this application, you can use HTMX. No need to go for heavy React or Vue. So if you see the JS dependency, React or Vue, they are heavily dependent in JavaScript, right? But HTMX is no, you just saw it has minimal line of code of JavaScript or even nothing if your project doesn't needs that, right? Performance, if you see, obviously HTMX will have high performance because it is having server-side rendering, and overhead on client side is getting less. That is why performance is increasing. Complexity is also decreasing in HTMX comparing to React or Vue, and HTMX is SEO friendly. That's cherry on the cake. We'll see some HTMX versus Ajax stats. If you see, the ease of use of HTML versus Ajax is high in HTMX because you don't have to write Ajax code extra. You just have to use simple attributes in HTML body itself, HTML element itself. Then we have this integration with HTML. That's also HTMX is a very easy one because we just having that those attributes, hx get, hx post, hx trigger, right? Just using that attributes in the HTML element itself. But Ajax, on other hand, you have to write a new method function like in JavaScript, like using jQuery or something like that, correct? So if you talk about learning curve, now HTML will take less time to learn because it's all there, right? You don't need to learn anything extra, just need to learn what attributes are there to use and when to use, how to use, right? Code length, obviously HTML will decrease the code length as no JavaScript is required or very minimal JavaScript is required. Performance, I'm talking about several times about it, that performance is gonna be increased because server-side rendering is happening. You are not doing any processing at client side, right? No more Ajax calls are you are doing separately. That overhead also getting reduced, so that's the performance going to improve, right? Okay, so let's see some case study, right? So since HTML is very new, so I just found one case study on the HTML website itself, and it's a well documented case study. That's why I wanted to show you guys all as well. So there is a website called Contexte. It's a French company, basically a news blog kind of a application is. So they replace their React based user interface with Django templates and HTMX, and if you see the numbers, your mind will be blowing. See, they reduced the code base by 67%. Can you really believe it? 21,500 to 7,200 lines of code. Isn't it awesome? So now if number of lines reduce, so obviously first load time to interactive it will be also decreasing. So that's decreased by 50 to 60%. Come on. If for example, if a particular section of the application or the website was loading in 5 seconds, now it is loading in 2.5 seconds. That's 50% reduction. 2 to 2.5 seconds. That's 50 to 60% reduction, right? And since this interactive time is reduced, so obviously the memory uses of the application is also reduced because you're not doing the client side rendering anymore, right? So the memory which was used by the web application, it will be reduced, and that reduced to 46%. That's amazing. So this case study is available in well documented format in htmx.org. I'll put the link in the description so that you can guys go through and see it on your own. Okay, so I mean, yeah, that's all I think about HTMX for this video, as this is an introductory video for HTMX. We may release some another videos on HTMX, some another case study or some other user experience or enhancement or how to use it, how to leverage most of it, right? But for this video, as this is the introductory video, I think that's all. Alright, time for a quick HTMX quiz. Okay, so comment below your answers, I'll check them and I'll pin the correct one. Okay, so let's start with the quiz. First question, what does hxget do? It fetches data using JavaScript, sends a GET request to the server and updates the page, or reloads the page. Come on. Put down your answers in the comment. Second question coming up. What's the main advantage of HTMX? It has less JavaScript, works only with SPAs, built-in state management, or it replaces the need for a backend server. I think you know the answer. Come on. The third one is, which HTMX attributes defines the target element for updates? HX target, HX swap, HX refresh. This is a very easy one. Now all three questions were very easy one based on this presentation. You should be able to answer it. I'll check the comments, put down your answers there, we'll pin the correct one. Okay, so with that, it's a wrap. If you find this helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more dev content, and let me know in the comments if you are going to try HTMX in your next project. See you in the next video. Till then, keep coding and keep learning.